Okay, so according to this map, the brushes ahead should be the entrance to the jungle. I've been told there are some pretty nice cards in here. No, this can't be right. This has to be some sort of mistake. What are you doing here? Hi, welcome back. Today we are taking a look at the first expansion from the Pokemon TCG, Jungle. So being the first themed expansion, I have a preconceived notion that the Pokemon featured in this set are those found in jungle biomes or at least forests too, if I'm being lenient. Speaking of which, for those of you that are new here and didn't watch the base set review, here's how the cards will be graded. The three categories of style, composition, and storytelling will each be graded out of 5, which then totals a final score out of 15. These grades are reflective of the art from a modern perspective. Rarity, price, and playability of the card do not matter. For a more in-depth explanation of the criteria, please go watch the review of the base set. Jungle is the first set to have regular cards be listed separately from their holo variants, so we will be skipping these holos and grading just the regular cards. That all being said, let's begin. I know that many people will write this card off as goofy because of Clefable's pudgy belly and crossed eyes, but its pre-evolution Clefairy is known for its little dances under the moon, and therein lies my problem with this art. While I do really like the warm autumn leaves and how the environment is segmented like a gradient, it doesn't really fit the vibe of Clefable because of the evolution line's association with the moon. 7 out of 15. This Electro card is solid. It's another Mitsuhiro Arita card that replicates Ken Sugimori's early style faithfully, with some slight differences in shading. The white glow, orange swirling background, and sprouting white lines are another great abstract interpretation of the Pokemon's signature move without just drawing a literal explosion. 6.5 out of 15. Kagemaru Himeno's Staff of Flareon and the other evolutions in the set really leans into the feline influence of the evolution line, adjusting the proportions of the face and legs to make them skinnier and more agile looking. The loose fur flying off the tail and more saturated colors allow Flareon to really embody the archetype of the Fire Cat, and while the gradient background is quite nice, it seems out of place. 5.5 out of 15. Similar to Flareon, the style of Himeno is also flattering for Jolteon. The bolts of electricity shooting outwards are always a nice touch for electric types, but unlike Flareon leaping into the sky, Jolteon is perched but has no literal ground to stand on. 6 out of 15. I'll get to Kangaskhan in a second. What sticks out to me the most is that background. It's so bit crunched. It looks like a meme that's been reposted 20 times over. But when it comes to Kangaskhan itself, it also looks off. Maybe I'm used to the modern, smoothed out design, but back in the early days it was more jagged. Even so, the baby's face is definitely too squished. 1.5 out of 15. For those of you that are new here and didn't watch the previous video, I really dislike this style of card. Stock art of the Pokemon with a void background. That's not to say that the art of Mr. Mime itself is bad. I understand this was still early days for the TCG, so it's perfectly reasonable to reuse assets, but dumping them into a void is not a good way to incorporate them. 4 out of 15. See, this is better, although there are still some issues. First off, Nidoqueen is floating above the field of flowers. Adding some in front of her feet would give it a much needed depth. Secondly, why a meadow? I think a savanna or plains biome would fit Nidoqueen much better. As for the render of Nidoqueen, it's great, as are most of the early Ken Sugimori watercolor art. As a quick side note, I learned that these backgrounds are just stock photos that have been lightly posterized in Photoshop, which sucks. I thought they were painted by someone at Creatures Inc. or Wizards of the Coast. Nevertheless, I'm disappointed by this revelation. 4.5 out of 15. Now I'm seeing a pattern in Himeno's style. She really accentuates the animalistic features of the Pokemon she draws, adding more layers to Pidgeot's wings and tail to make it look quite majestic. The wings being raised and the stare towards the camera also elevate its powerful stature, which is crazy for what is essentially Bird the Pokemon. The final cherry on top is the way the warm rays of sun streaming through the clouds really complete the card. The only critique I have is that some of the shadows are too harsh around the top of the wings for it being so high in the sky. 7 out of 15. The same sentiment of Himeno's style applies to this Pinsir card as well. It leaping out of a bush to supposedly attack the prey it's been stalking off to the side of the card feels very natural for the behavior of Pinsir. The style of background doesn't make sense here as it did with the clouds of Pidgeot's card. If it was leaping that fast, it would have been nice to see some speed lines coming off Pinsir itself. I also think Pinsir could have been a shade lighter as well. 7 out of 15. Much prefer the early Sugimori art for Scyther. The sharper lines work better for a mantis with blades for claws. While researching this card, I discovered this certain background composition where the light and the sky shine through the tree leaves is famously known in Japan as komorebi. It represents a sense of mindfulness of nature as a whole, and in context for a jungle-themed set and a bug Pokemon, It's not a bad thing to reference, but the deep beauty of nature isn't what comes to mind when I think of Scyther. 4 out of 15. Hey Snorlax, how's it going? For a Pokemon known for being lazy and sleepy, it's cute to see Snorlax peer its head over its massive belly and give a wave to the camera. While the background is simple splotches, the blue and light beige is reminiscent of a peaceful cloudy sky, which is fitting for a Pokemon that spends its time basking in the soft sunlight. 4 out of 15. Another Himeno evolution card. Unfortunately, this crosses into the uncanny valley for me. I think it's the face. While Flareon and Jolteon had cartoonish expressions, Vaporeon's is too stiff and its eyes are too small, making it more in line with an actual cat than a Pokemon, which is unfortunate as I really like how the frills on its neck and tail are rendered. 5 out of 15. The purples of Venomoth contrast nicely with the lush greens of the rolling hills. At first I thought Venomoth was too close to the camera, but it actually is deceivingly massive for a bug, standing at 4'11", so it being this large in frame is proportionally accurate. 7 out of 15. Even though this is stock artwork, I love Victreebel's menacing stare towards the camera. The background is too washed out. Adding some color or darkness to this forest would definitely enhance the card's overall vibe. 4.5 out of 15. This model for Vileplume is okay for its time, but it shows signs of that early 3D grain. The pose is also boring, and the background is extremely bland. The only credit I can give this card is the stink lines exuding from Vileplume, which is in line with a big poison flower. 3 out of 15. The softer and washed out colors of Arita's style make Wigglytuff look extra soft and fluffy. One detail I really love is in its eyes. In the early artwork for Wigglytuff, it always has a creepy expression that contrasted the rest of its cuter design, and that came from how its eyes are depicted. The subtle white glare maintains that early tradition. 3.5 out of 15. There's a lot to love about this card. The bright blue sky with the flowing silver winds, the warm gradient horizon line that contrasts the sky, and the variants of pink flowers in the foreground make this card feel alive. The Butterfree hovering above these flowers, observing them, deciding which one to pick, adds subtle personality to a mon with no facial expressions. 9.5 out of 15. There's some Three Stooges vibes with this Dodrio card, especially because one of them has that dopey look. The Faraway Mountains and warm to cool gradient are nice extra details to a simple but effective card. 6.5 out of 15. See that realistic crab. The intentional choice with early gen Pokemon referencing real-life animals is also present in the TCG, but apart from that, this card is extremely vibrant. The strong tropical reds and oranges give the card great warmth, and the mist helps segment the card's focus. The expression of Executor is already relaxed, so it naturally fits into this environment. 10 out of 15. Why does Fearow look so pudgy? I get what Arita was going for here. Fearow soaring gracefully through the skies with the speed lines to imply that, but because Fearow is disproportionately crammed into the space, it looks very off. 2.5 out of 15. Kinabuchi makes the early 3D renders quite charming. Even though the trees are repetitive, they fade into the fog, and said red fog gives off a hazardous aura, along with the tree stumps to prop Gloom up into frame. But Kinabuchi forgot to articulate Gloom. He's stuck in the default T-pose. 6.5 out of 15. The perspective on this card is great. The foreshortening of the tongue highlights the key feature of Lickitung. There are a few small problems I have with this card. Because berries didn't exist in Generation 1, the tree grows some type of small bananas, and I find the way the tongue makes a hand shape quite funny, forming a thumb to wrap around the branch. I think it would have been better if it fully twisted around instead. 10.5 out of 15. Nice to see a Pokemon using its signature move. I find Arita's style here to be rather dull. Maybe it needs some thicker lines or a bit more saturation, but that aside, the composition is great. The bone being thrown directly into the camera with Marowak staring you down is a great concept, and while the tall grass and that one tree in the environment are simple, the grass parting because of the bone's speed is a nice touch, along with the speed lines to emphasize. One last critique I have would be to push the posing of Marowak to make it more dynamic with some foreshortening. 7.5 out of 15. Another reused Sugimori art with the stock background. Even the shadow is just a circle. I'm already bored of these cards. It's only the second set, and there are so many more to come in the future. 4.5 out of 15. There's no need to repeat myself for the very next card, but that glow also makes no sense. Little red spores would convey the Pokemon's identity much better. 4 out of 15. I have extremely mixed feelings about this card. Firstly, I like the heavy use of the primary colors blue, yellow, and red. I know it looks pinkish, but hear me out. It's a unique way to limit and test artistry, and if this was any type of psychic or supernatural Pokemon, I would have been a lot more on board with the stylistic concept. For example, take Abra from base set. But for Persian, the common cat Pokemon of Gen Gen 1, it's too much. Secondly, the composition is solid. It has a foreground, midground, and background, which give it a proper sense of depth. Persian hunching down on the grass helps divide the card where the horizon line is. And lastly, like most Himeno cards in this set, I like the extra jagged lines added to the face and legs of Persian, giving it a better perception of its furriness and feline features. 6.5 out of 15. Himeno once again breathing a lot of personality into these cards. It's good to see Primate being its angry little self, the fists up ready to strike, the dark shadow around the eyes, the anger vein, and the steam cloud outlines exuding from its body are all very cartoonish yet charming ways to express anger. I wish there was more to the background, but if it's supposed to be blurry because of how fast Primate is moving, then I can be a bit forgiving. 5.5 out of 15. This is the horse pose. You can Google horse and you'll find multiple images of them doing this exact pose. Can you even get a horse to pose? I don't know, must be a weird phenomenon. Anyway, this card is warm, not only in the tones of Rapidash, but in the golden hour sky as well. Maybe Rapidash is photogenic after all. 6.5 out of 15. The concept of a 6'3" stone behemoth sprinting at you at full speed is terrifying, but the style lets this card down. I wish this Rhydon card incorporated those small jagged details I've come to identify in other cards illustrated by Himeno that give the Pokemon a more animalistic appearance. The warped camera perspective, speed lines, picked up rocks, and overall colors are still very solid. 7 out of 15. This is more what I'm talking about. This takes all of Himeno's strengths and combines them. The bold colors that complement the environment, extra jaggedness to the fins, and inclusion of the spatial planes, creating an effectively simple yet styled card that fits the Pokemon. The only things I would have added are more small details such as bubbles or more patterns to the coral or other sea flora. 8.5 out of 15. Okay, so the motion captured in this card is probably Tauros mid-turn after noticing something behind it. When I first glanced at this card, I thought it was hitting the Akira slide. I like Tauros rendered in Himeno's style, but the background is a bit muddy, no pun intended. The brown on brown reduces the contrast of a strong, unique pose, and the clouds are also green for some reason. 7.5 out of 15. I don't know how she did it, but Himeno made Weeping Bell cute. I think it's in the eyes. Looking upwards and not directly forward like usual helps with the expression, and it drooling over the bird on its head is very charming, knowing it has to remain completely still to get its meal. The black outline helps break up the bright bold colors of Weeping Bell and the foliage, which consist of similar colors. Although I thought the grapes were cloud at first because of how transparent they look. 10.5 out of 15. Bellsprout's expression and overall pose never change. Here, that's used to the card's advantage. It looks surprised as it's almost swept away by a gust of wind carrying dandelions. Its pose making it look as if it's being pushed backwards, trying to hold its balance. If you rotate the card so the horizon line is horizontal, it makes it even more so apparent. 9.5 out of 15. What a great contrast. The almost golden brown Cubone under a dark purple night sky, looking up at the stars, shedding a tear over its dead mother, while keeping a strong pose with its head held high. This is an almost perfect depiction of Cubone. The small issues I have with this card have to do with the rendering near the bottom. It looks muddy and unfinished. It's especially noticeable because it bleeds into the fully rendered log that Cubone stands on. 13.5 out of 15. What happened to Eevee's anatomy? It looks like it had its legs broken and compacted back into its body. Apart from that, it's a solid Himeno card. I'm not naming all of her stylistic features. You should know what they are by now if you've been listening to me ramble on for this long. 5 out of 15. Now, I don't think Execute looks all that tasty, but the idea of resting them on a collection of leaves akin to how food is traditionally served in many Southeast Asian countries is a very unique concept. The plain green background leaves more to be desired, otherwise from that, it's a pretty great card. 7 out of 15. Himeno once again working her wonders to make Goldeen of all Pokemon look majestic. Even the water is rendered adequately with small orange reflections of Goldeen, but this time I can't excuse the blurry background. 7 out of 15. The warm, saturated colors and music notes make for a cozy card. Sitting in the tree, practicing his lullaby, everything in this composition is suitable for a Jigglypuff card. 9 out of 15. The last card by Himeno in this set, and it's very solid. The action of swinging from a branch is suitable for a monkey Pokemon, and the slight side-eyed expression gives context that it is swinging to find or hunt something out of frustration. 7.5 out of 15. Meowth sitting on a pile of coins demonstrates its greedy nature for shiny objects. The heavy shadows on the front of Meowth with the shine behind it make it look more intimidating and protective of its stash. 9 out of 15. Another reused Sugimori art with the stock background. Even the shadow is just a circle. I'm already bored of these cards. It's only the second set and there are so many more to come in the future. 4.5 out of 15. The low angle shot exaggerates how small Oddish is under the large night sky. Oddish, joyfully prancing around the grass fields, make it a cute and whimsical card. Not a care in the world to those beady eyes. 4.5 out of 15. Similar to Parasect, the red glow should be replaced with little red spores to convey the Pokemon's identity better. 4 out of 15. The adorable fat Pikachu from Generation 1. Glad they're paying homage to it this year for the 30th anniversary. The light yellow glow and small static lines sprouting from it work well enough, but unfortunately, it's placed in a stock background. 4.5 out of 15. I'm fond of the composition here. Rhyhorn tracking through the red-hot desert with little details like the plants and the remaining ledges, implying Rhyhorn walks straight through a small dune. The dull, slate grey of Rhyhorn contrasts well against the orange sand, and Arita includes small reflections to match. 8 out of 15. Early artwork for Spearow had much brighter colors, so even though I think it's too bright, that was correct for the time. The action of stepping or landing on a real-life worm is a good choice for the common bird Pokemon. The background is okay, nothing really to note here. 7 out of 15. The colors of Venonat are incorrect. I know I just mentioned early gen artworks and the differences in color compared to the modern art, but even when looking at the Gen 1 artwork for Venonat, its hands and feet shouldn't be purple but instead a tan color. The flowers themselves look fine with the yellow complementing the purple of Venonat, but I'm not sure what that large yellow clump is. Is it part of the dirt or a yellowish shrub? 3.5 out of 15. Yep, that's definitely the Pokeball. The bright light shooting out of the side as it opens up is some appreciated detail on an otherwise bland card. There is a weird fog or water covering the lower third of the Pokeball, which is very odd to decorate the ball with. 4 out of 15. Overall, the theming of the set was good. Plenty of grass, poison, and bug Pokemon to make up a majority of the set. The average score was 6.27 out of 15, which is 41.81%. The lowest scoring card this set was Kangaskhan, with a score of 1.5 out of 15, mainly due to its pixelated background quality and weird looking baby. The highest score was Cubone, with a 13.5 out of 15. Sometimes less is more, and the perfect characterization of Cubone, along with the strong contrast, make this a fantastic card. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment telling me which card is your favorite, and let me know for the future if you would prefer to see the cards organized by artist instead of set number. I appreciate your time, subscribe, and I'll see you later.